Do you have suspicions that you might have an anxious attachment style, or maybe your partner has one? Then this video is for you, since on top of psychological information, I'm going to talk from my own experience, as I'm exactly the person who used to have an anxious attachment style. By the way, used to refers to the fact that I no longer have it, at least that intensely, which answers another question: can this be fixed? Yes, it absolutely can. My name is Darina and I'm doing my psychology postgrad in Australia. Let's get started. One of the first signs of this attachment style is an overwhelming fear of abandonment. A person is constantly fearing that they will be left behind. This fear is often rooted in childhood experiences where parents might have frequently neglected the child, such as consistently picking them up late from daycare, or even worse, forgetting to pick them up at all. For example, if parents had a substance misuse, so sometimes a kid can even be left to stay overnight at the daycare. Yes, guys, by my accent you can see I was born in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, and we used to have those overnight kindies. It is horrible, I know. Write in the comment section if in the country you are watching from you also have these overnight daycares. So, such experiences instill a persistent feeling of being neglected, making the child feel less important than other priorities in their parents' lives. Consequently, kids like this grow up feeling that they could be abandoned at any moment without any warning. The person like this thinking, my partner might leave me and I wouldn't understand why, just as I never understood why my parents acted the way they did during my childhood. I remember one situation from my childhood. I was around 8 and I stayed home with an 80-year-old grandmother. My mom was on the night shift at work and my dad worked in another town. I decided that I needed to make some pork crackles in the middle of the night. So I cut the pork fat and put it on the pan, and when it all started to melt, I accidentally touched the pan and it turned over with all this boiling pork fat on my thigh. Anyway, long story short, the ambulance took me and they called my mom from the hospital. Such and such happened and informed her that there was no point for her to come in over now. And I think my mom was okay with that, since she said that her boss didn't let her go from work or whatever. So she came only in the morning. And if you guys can imagine how Eastern European hospitals looked, it was over 25 years ago. It's not these high-tech modern hospitals with friendly staff as we have here in Australia, or maybe you guys have in the US. It is a really depressing building with metal net beds, with blue walls and horrible bed linen. They did not even give me a pillow, as they said they ran out of them. Anyway, I remember this feeling of lying there completely by myself with this severe burn on my thigh and the nurse coming and saying, "Your mom won't come tonight." This feeling of loneliness, despair, a black hole in your chest and horror, this is exactly how I felt at that moment. It was also interesting, when I had my first 10 years long relationship and the fully blown anxious attachment style, it was exactly how I felt every time my partner would not send me a message that he ran, for example, 15 minutes late from work, or if he talked to someone at the party just for 1 minute, or if we had a minor argument. It was a feeling that it was the end of the world. Rationally, you are an adult with a good job, education, friends and family, but emotionally you are this child who is terrified of abandonment. Hopefully I didn't scare you guys with my stories of an Eastern European kid. I have many more stories, one better than the other, so subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the like button. Another characteristic of someone with an anxious attachment style is excessive neediness or clinginess, where the individual feels compelled to constantly be with their partner, creating an almost suffocating suffocating closeness. This is because as soon as they are apart, doubts and insecurities begin to overwhelm them. It is like when I'm with you, I can control what you do, I can see what you do and what you say at this moment, I can control your mood a little bit, for example, I can talk nicely or apologize if needed, and so on. One of the other distinct characteristics of this attachment style is that you are constantly expecting that something bad will happen in the context of a relationship. Similarly with normal anxiety, when a person feels that something bad might happen in general. With the anxious attachment style, it is all related to the specific person. It is negative thinking, it is anticipating the worst case scenario, etc. For example, your partner didn't show up home after work at his usual hour. He did 30 minutes later though. But during these 30 minutes you're going to think that he is cheating on you, that he was robbed, that he is mad at you for something. You cannot even consider that he simply forgot his phone in the office and remembered only when he was on the train station. So coming back to the office and getting it, it is why A, he didn't call about delay, and B, he was 30 minutes late. By the way, now when negative thoughts like that creep in, I'm having this logical, rational talk. Darina, what are the other scenarios why, say, your partner didn't call when he promised? So on top of the catastrophic scenario, I'm trying to think of 3-4 trivial scenarios such as having a nap, forgetting, being caught chatting with a friend or family on video call, or simply being tired and not wanting to talk. And 99.9% of the time, it is always the most relaxed scenario. So try this yourself, it is really working. Another distinct trait of an anxious attachment style is the constant need for emotional reassurance and words of affirmation and love. They continuously seek confirmation and justification of their partner's feelings. This is exactly the case when your partner says, "Do you love me? Do you love me a lot?" And it can be a few times a day. It is like they are not feeling this on a deeper level, so they need to hear it all the time or see it in messages. Additionally, individuals with an anxious attachment style often feel inherently inadequate, as though they are unworthy of their partner, who seem to have a richer, more fulfilling life. Because as we know, the formula of an anxious attachment style is that you are okay and I'm not okay. Even though objectively they can have a better job or being really good looking and having more positive traits, this perceived disparity leads them to constantly express their insecurities, which can push their partner into an unwanted dominant role or a caretaker role rather than of an equal partner. This behavior not only strains the relationship but also fosters this unhealthy dynamic where the partner feels compelled to continuously reassure an anxious individual, which can be really exhausting. People with this attachment style also tend to react very negatively to constructive criticism. For example, a husband can say to his wife that the soup is fantastic but would be better if they added less salt next time. Oh, they perceive these helpful comments as personal attacks or rejections. They might feel that such feedback confirms their deepest insecurities, leading to feeling of shame and an intensified sense of self-deprecation. This reaction often confuses their partners, who are simply intended to be helpful but are met with hostility or extreme sensitivity. So, the question that everyone wants to know: what should you do if you have an anxious attachment style? The first step is acknowledgement, recognizing that this pattern of attachment is not an inherent flaw but a conditioned response from past experiences. You are responding like that because this is how you used to respond. It is not an accurate reflection of reality but rather a perspective skewed by previous traumas. While seeing a therapist is probably your best shot to deeply address and amend these patterns, a practical, immediate approach is to strive not to interpret these feelings as indicators of true reality. If you remember what I was talking about a little bit earlier, try to have 3-4 more positive scenarios in your head. When you start having this feeling of horror and abandonment. Another step you can take, either by yourself or with a therapist, is improving your self-esteem and self-worth. Because when you deeply realize and understand that you are precious and you don't have to be always scared to be left, or even if this happens, you will be fine, as there will be many other people who would be happy to be with you, your fears will start diminishing. So eventually the goal is to strive for a secure attachment when your partner is okay and you are okay also. Please share in the comments if you found this video insightful, or if you've noticed any traits of anxious attachment style in yourself. If you want to know about all 4 attachment styles, I have a video from the early ones when I was talking really seriously and in a scientific manner, so hit here to watch it. Take care of yourself and your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next video.